Let's talk about borderline personality disorder, or BPD. It's got to be one of the most complex and, honestly, widely misunderstood mental health conditions out there. It's so often wrapped up in stigma, but what if we could look at it through a completely new lens? One that focuses on trauma, on resilience, and, most importantly, on hope. Okay, let's dive into this and really break it down.
Wow, this quote from Sylvia Plath, it just perfectly captures that intense, all-consuming emotional world that can come with BPD. We're not just talking about being moody here. This is like being caught in a powerful current that's constantly yanking you from one extreme to the very opposite. It's that intense inner experience that we're really going to explore today.
So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to tackle it in 4 parts. First, we'll get into what that emotional storm of BPD actually is. Then we're going to unpack the why behind it and its deep connection to trauma. After that, we'll look at some real tools for navigating it all. And finally, we'll chart a totally new path forward by reframing how we see this condition.
Okay, so first things first, what exactly is BPD? Let's try and get a really clear, foundational understanding of what it actually feels like to live inside this emotional storm.
Let's be super precise here. At its absolute core, BPD is a disorder of emotional dysregulation. And this is so important. This is not a character flaw. It's not a choice. It is a mental illness that deeply affects how a person processes their feelings, how they see themselves, and how they connect with other people.
So these are really the hallmarks of that emotional storm we're talking about. Imagine an overwhelming, gut-wrenching fear of being left, which, as you can guess, can lead to relationships that feel like a total roller coaster. We're talking rapid, intense mood swings. You can go from feeling on top of the world to the depths of despair in just a few hours. And then there's this deep, gnawing feeling of emptiness inside, and an anger that can feel absolutely uncontrollable. It's like a constant state of internal chaos.
And this brings us to one of the biggest, most damaging myths about BPD. That whole bunny boiler stereotype of someone who's a danger to other people. The reality? It's almost the complete opposite. The immense, unbearable pain of this condition is almost always turned inward. The real danger is to the self, often as a desperate way to cope with that inner turmoil.
Okay, so we've covered the what. Now let's get into the why. Why does this emotional storm develop in the first place? Well, the answer so often comes down to one word: trauma.
60%. On average, 60% of people diagnosed with BPD have a history of childhood abuse or trauma. Just let that number sink in for a second. This is not some coincidence. The crucial takeaway here is that BPD often isn't something that just randomly appears. It's frequently forged in the fire of incredibly overwhelming childhood experiences. Now this is a complete game changer. What if the behaviors we see in BPD aren't disordered at all? What if they were actually brilliant, adaptive strategies for surviving an impossible situation? Think about it. If you grow up in an environment where your feelings are ignored or worse, punished, then maybe huge emotional displays are the only way to get your needs met. A fear of abandonment makes perfect sense if you've actually been abandoned, right? And get this isn't just a psychological theory. It's physiological. It's biology. Trauma literally reshapes the developing brain. Your amygdala, which is kind of like your brain's emotional smoke detector, gets stuck in the on position, putting you in a constant state of high alert. The hippocampus, which helps you process memories, can actually shrink, which makes it harder to deal with traumatic events. And the orbital frontal cortex, your decision-making hub, can be altered, which helps explain that impulsivity we talked about. These aren't excuses. They're explanations rooted in actual neuroscience. Now, I know this all sounds really heavy, but this is where the story shifts. This is where we turn towards hope and empowerment, because BPD is not a life sentence. There are powerful, effective tools for navigating the storm and finding solid ground again. Recovery often starts with really simple but incredibly practical skills. Mindfulness, for example, teaches you how to just observe your intense emotions without getting completely swept away by them. Grounding techniques, like just focusing on the feeling of your feet on the floor, can literally pull you out of an emotional spiral and bring you back to the present. And basic self-care? It isn't a luxury. It is absolutely essential for building a stable foundation for your emotional health. And modern therapies like acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, they offer this amazing framework for the journey. It's sometimes called the triflex, and it's really about 3 things. First, being present, right here, right now. Second, Opening up, making room for all those difficult feelings instead of constantly fighting them. And finally, doing what matters, taking actions that are based on your personal values so you can build a life that feels meaningful even when pain is part of the picture.
So let's bring all this together. With this new understanding of the what, the why, and the how, we can really start to reframe our entire perception of borderline personality disorder.
Because here's the other side of that coin. The very same sensitivity that causes so much pain can also be a source of incredible strength. People with BPD are often warriors. They have this immense resilience. Their intense emotional world can give them a profound capacity for empathy, for creativity, and for passion. When these things are channeled, they're not symptoms. They're basically superpowers.
So I'll just leave you with this one question. What if we shifted our perspective entirely? What if we saw borderline personality disorder not as a flaw, not as something that's broken, but as a painful, complex, and ultimately powerful testament to what a human being will do to survive?